But for some of it, you have to have.
Yeah.
Well, this was working just a minute ago.
All right, well, should we go ahead and get this thing going? This is the Parks and Public Works meeting. And first thing we got to do, looking up there, looks like it's a call to order. Roll call. Deputy City Clerk, you have attendance all marked down for us?
I do.
Thank you so much. And I'm happy to see we're all here. And the next thing is agenda approval. Anybody got anything to say about the agenda?
Long.
Let's throw an extra half hour on this meeting and see if we can get through it all. Is there a motion to approve this?
Second.
All right, then our agenda is approved, and that takes us to public comments. If there's anyone who would like to make public comment, fortunately, we don't take it off online. Doesn't look like anybody is here except for city staff. If you got something you got to say, we got a podium for you. No, you good. All right. Well, then we'll close public comment and happy to reopen that if something pops up. Moving on to meeting minutes. Anybody got anything to say about the meeting minutes from our last meeting on the 21st of May? Is that the last time we met? Oh yeah, that seems longer ago than it actually was. Yeah, that was 2 weeks ago.
I'll make a motion to approve those minutes for May 21st.
Second.
All right, it's approved, and let's move on to the agenda. See, this is going to be a quick meeting. We're clipping right through this stuff. Agenda Bill 24-069 Kimball Creek Bridge. And I don't know what's going on with my computer. I think Jimmy destroyed it while I wasn't looking. But I'm going to leave it to you. Yeah, it looks like you're going to talk about this one.
Yeah, so this agenda bill seek approval to award public work contract to Masana Construction Inc. for the construction of Kimball Creek Bridges Restoration Project and authorize the mayor to sign the contract. Little background about this. Kimball Creek Bridge Restoration Project is part of our CIP, and it's there to address the structural deficiency of two bridges on Meadowbrook Way. And that structural deficiency was based on King County inspection dated 2021. The scope of the project is, so we're gonna rehabilitate two bridges along Meadowbrook Way. There's in-water work where we're gonna excavate under the approaches to the bridge. We're gonna work under the bridge, address the scour and erosion under the bridge. We're gonna install new piles on both bridges. We're gonna work also on the back walls of the bridge, the wing walls. We're gonna install pre-stressed girders, and we're gonna also pave after we finish, and we're gonna replace the guardrails on the bridges as well.
And just so everybody knows which ones you're talking about the bridges that are over culverts on Meadowbrook Way between Railroad and
The city limit.
the city limit toward the casino.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct. So it's two bridges carrying Meadowbrook Way, and under the bridge is crossing Kimball Creek, two forks of Kimball Creek, and there are two bridges. It's between 202 and the casino. So we advertised this project for bid in April 23, 2024, and we received bid on May 14th. We received only one bid from Masana Construction Inc. And this bid was over the engineer estimate. So the engineer estimate for this one was 842 approximately, and the bid we received is 1.179. So we're recommending award of this contract for several reasons. First thing is for this project, the project scale is actually, it's in the middle. It's too small for big bridge companies to work on this kind of project, and it's too big for small bridge companies as well. So we can say we didn't see lots of contractors bidding on that project. First thing, the project scale. Second thing, the timing as well. So all the bridge work should happen in the in-water work window, which is between July and October. So all bridge contractors working on bridge over water, they're working on that window. So it's a busy season for all the contractors working on those projects. And also the estimate for the project, it's not easy to estimate the repair project. So most of the stuff, like there is a lot of items are lump sum items, and those lump sum items are always dependent on the project itself and depending on the side of the project. So you can't like use numbers from other projects because every number is project as specific, especially for the lump sum items. So for all those factors, and also for the bridge itself, we're losing material on the approach. So if you look at the bridge, the approach of the bridge, there is a filling there, and then you have the back wall of the bridge. So we're losing material on the approach of the bridge, and this
By losing material, you mean it's disappearing from?
yeah,
from-
from the water. The water is going through the filling, so we're losing part of the filling behind the bridge back wall. And if you drive, you can coming from the casino, there's like a big bump on the first bridge.
Mhm.
You can we've been filling that for a while. This is the loss of the material behind the bridge back wall, and it's settling every time. We keep filling it up. Sometimes we fill it over, like our street guys, sometimes they fill it every 2 or 3 weeks, and we're still losing material there. So overall structural deficiency, then we have the loss of material behind the bridge. This is the situation as of today. And what we're proposing to fill the gap for the budget is, you can see in the budget impact, we're proposing taking money from Meadowbrook Bridge. That bridge, we've talked about the project before, it got delayed. So we can pull some money from there to fill the gap for the difference for this project.
Are you expecting the Meadowbrook ultimately to cost less?
Not costless. At the Meadowbrook Bridge, we're expecting the timeline for the construction to change. So
Understand that's a biennial budget issue, how to make it fit in. But that's not a CIP budget issue. You still, Meadowbrook, I haven't heard that it's gonna cost less than we estimated. So it's still gonna require its ultimate funding.
Mhm.
So, yeah, you may take from it for the biennial, but ultimately you gotta give it back.
yeah, we can also target millside development for funds there for the bridge, since the millside development will affect the traffic there, and we will have to do something to accommodate the traffic for millside development as well.
Phase 2.
Phase 2, yeah.
Right. There's no agreement right now on phase 1 on
No.
contingency.
No impact fees for
No
phase
impact
1.
fees, right. And don't know when phase 2 is coming. Or the analysis of how much impact phase 2 has on that particular thing. When school gets out, I bet a lot of people go that way, but otherwise they may come through downtown.
So the structural deficiencies, didn't I read somewhere that we're in, may soon be, have problems with, was it King County or the state that was inspecting
King County.
King County? And that if we don't do this, if we don't fix it, they're gonna close the road, and not have the public utilize the bridges? Is that
Potentially,
correct?
yes. If the bridges fail, yes.
Are they, with these structural deficiencies, is that something?
We are
that's-
rapidly approaching failure.
Okay,
Yeah.
Mr.
For the
Hamlin?
Kimball Creek bridges, not Meadowbrook Bridge.
right,
Right.
right.
So, Mr. Hamlin, I remember you giving us a tour of this back in 2021. We did a tour of a whole bunch of the projects on the CIP. And at that time, what I'm remembering is that it was already in bad shape and needed repair. And I remember a ballpark estimate, we're working with rough figures, was something like $500,000 to do this.
No.
Very ballpark, just rough estimate numbers that I remember. It wasn't, on an agenda bill. Am I remembering that wrong?
Yeah, because the cost is pretty close to the same what they estimated. I have that actually in a report. So when we had toured it last time, it was after we had gotten an assessment of those bridges. And remember, we had also done a kind of a rather thorough analysis of what our funding options were. And there just is no funding because they're not long enough to be bridges. They're actually considered culverts. So they don't fall into this category of bridge which receives funding. So based on that, we looked at what our options were, and our options were based because these things could be repaired for less than half the cost of replacement, that it was a better value for the city to do the repair, which would get us at least 20 years out of the bridges. And that was what we were proposing. The cost that we had for then was pretty close to what our engineer's estimate ended up being, about $850,000.
And so if I'm understanding what you're saying, and is that this project should cost around 840 grand, but there isn't a contractor to do this size of work. And so we're paying a premium because of that. Am I understanding you correctly?
Not that only. So 842, this is the engineer estimate, but you can't get like so close on the engineer estimate as well, because lots of item in the engineering estimate is just lump sum items. Like, for instance, the removal of a structure. It's a risk item. Contractors gonna assess the risk there because they're gonna cut through the girders, remove the girders, and if they caused any issue in another element, they're gonna have to fix it on their cost. So this is a risk item for them. So it depends on how big is the risk they're taking on that removal. The contractor gonna bid on it. So for us to estimate, for the engineer to estimate that item specifically, it's just you can't like compare it to other projects. You have to estimate something based on your like your best guess there, but maybe the contractor, they have other risks associated, so they're gonna bid it more than that. So it's a mix. The engineer estimate, you can't get so close there, because usually with maybe if you're doing elements like items for material, you have previous bids for other projects. You can at least estimate something like cost that's close to other projects. But when you come with like lump sum items that's really specific to the project, it's case by case. So we can say like the engineer estimate is really accurate, and then we're paying premium because we couldn't find contractor. It's both factors.
Thank you.
I'd like to add
That's really
something.
helpful.
So because of the type of project this is, and the size of the project, it's not a very attractive project to a lot of bridge firms, right? And so we got one bid, right? And it's
Was
not
this the lowest one?
the lowest one and the
Got it.
only one, right? And for other types of work, say, if we're doing a sewer line, right? There's a lot of firms that would be interested who know how to do that work, and they're going to come in and they have their costs, pretty well dialed in on things, and they can assess their risks better. Bridges like this they're pretty rare. They don't do a lot of these types of things. So they have to calculate their risk in giving us their bid. Well, if there was a lot of interest, we might find more competitive bids. The costs that our engineer developed is based on their experience. And since we had one bid, we got a bid that was probably somewhere in the middle of where we probably would have seen if we had a whole range of bids, but it just doesn't attract a lot of, bridge contractors. So, I mean, that's kind of where we're at. We're at, a few $100,000 higher than excuse me, than what we anticipated. But the problem is, if we were to pull it and rebid it next winter, there's no guarantee that we get any more bidders.
Right.
Or that would be any lower. Right. And that's kind of why we're recommending it now.
But it's always fun when you guys come in with an agenda bill and bids that are a couple $100,000 below the engineer. Can we do that more?
Yeah, I know, and we don't like it either.
Yeah.
And I think we actually have a pretty good track record. We usually are pretty close to our bid estimates. It was, this was just a really difficult one to tell. And it was one of those where, it didn't work in our favor. And it doesn't leave us a lot of recourse. We were thinking about ways that we could rebid it, take some cost out of it, but there's really nothing to take out, right? It's already kind of cut down to, it's bare bones. So, I think we're a little stuck with what we got.
So is this also part of the fish culvert projects?
Mm-mm.
Does that have anything to do
No.
with it?
No.
Okay, because there's always,
Well, we're
funding
above the falls, so we're
that.
past the Natterman's fish thing. So we don't get any funding for,
For fish
fish culverts. Right.
We don't qualify for that.
we can't come up with falls, but
Yeah.
they're finding
We
other
looked at it.
culverts. Yeah. okay.
Yeah.
You
So,
looked at it.
yeah, that was part of our funding assessment was looking at the different options for funding. And that just wasn't available.
The fish passage grant is based on the fish that passes through our culvert. So we don't have fishes passing that area.
Do we invite some fish?
We-
No,
they can
it's
survive.
something that we can.
Could we
Fish coin.
stock the creek and-
They have actually, so there is like this map where they do the distribution of fish and you go there to see what fishes go through your structure. Then you can apply for the grant. So even if you do something, it's not on the database.
Well, that's really well explained. Thank you for taking us through all those answers. Did you guys have anything else?
So this is 30% over engineer's estimate,
I think it's higher than that.
Over that, yeah.
a little over that,
Yeah.
rough figures. Okay. That gives me of concern, but your other statements give me, I need facts and data whether I should be worried about this. So I'm really asking, based on history, how close are we usually? On average, are we over, under, what's the range? And at what stage should I be concerned? If I can't expect an engineer estimate with less than plus or minus 50%, then I take it. If what I do coming in, I have an expectations of plus or minus something less than 30%. And we broach that, but that may be an unrealistic expectation. So I'm asking a review of past bids for some time period.
Yeah.
What's our usual spread?
Yeah, we can do that.
What can be expectation there?
I think what you'll see is that we're usually really close. So our low bid is typically right at or below engineer's estimate,
Mhm.
right? But what you don't, if you look close, you'll see that if we get multiple bids, the low bid is usually pretty close or just below engineer's estimate, but all the other ones are pretty much above it, right? And so the mid-range on it is typically, we see crazy bids, sometimes 100% more than, what the engineer's estimate is. So, 30% more than engineer's estimate is not unusual as a mid-range
Well,
bid,
let's
but
back
not a
up,
low bid. Right.
because you're telling me opinion and anecdotal.
Mhm.
I'm asking for, show me the numbers. What
Mhm.
are the facts?
We can certainly do that.
So let's take a look at the past bids, and that might be good for the whole council to see. If it's 10% above, well, that's still pretty good. How good are our estimates? And that'll give us some reliance on that. Second question though, does this, because we're in May right now, is this suffering because of our bid timing? If we were to go out before they were already booked for the summer, wouldn't we have a better opportunity on additional bidders and potentially a lower price?
Potentially, but not certain on that, because from what we understand, talking to our engineer, that, it's not going to still be very attractive, even if it's bid in the winter, but it's possible that we could get, a better bid if we try to bid it again in the winter.
And was that a discovery that we made in this process, that it was an unattractive project? Or is that something that we would have known in advance that we were going to potentially have to pay a premium as a result of that?
I didn't really know that. I don't know. Did you hear anything from, our engineers didn't really mention it as being unattractive, at least that I was aware of.
So that's something that we discovered in this process then? is
Yeah,
that
once
this
we
is-
got the bids, yeah.
Uh-huh,
Right.
okay.
No, but I'm kind of hinting at a lesson learned here, that we ought to look at our CIP. And there are opportune moments for different types of projects to go out where the bidding is a more favorable environment. And we ought to start targeting those versus it gets ready when it's ready and we go to bid. And in this case, we're bidding close up when it may not be favorable for us to bid. We may be paying a premium because of the bid timing, where I'd rather get money back because of the bid timing. And we need to look at our CIP plan and decide what's the appropriate timing for those packages to go out for bid.
And we always pay attention to that, right? We always try to bid them, at the best time to bid. So early spring or even in winter, we try to bid projects that way.
And this one was driven by the permit, so we can't go to bid until we have the permit. We have an in-water work permit. And another thing to mention is we bid another project a week after this one, and we received, I have an agenda bill for it coming today, and we received 4 bids also. So that the other project was a week after this one, and we still received 4 bids. So it's not purely timing, it's the project itself is a factor there on how many bids you need.
I heard that part. I heard both statements in the prior conversation. So I understand this it's a two-box culvert. Nobody wants it. Okay.
So, if, and I remember that we just recently had, what was it, the
Sewer line.
384th,
Yeah,
yeah, where the engineers estimate was higher. So, and there was multiple bids on that one as well. But is this something then that we, I realize with the timing to get this done, hopefully this summer, to move this, do we move this forward to council with the, maybe, would it be possible to get the information that Councilmember Holloway is asking for by the council?
You weren't saying that was
I would
contingent.
hold, I don't put that as a blocking item for this.
Okay.
This should move
Yeah.
forward.
We could definitely do it though.
Yeah.
I mean,
No, we should.
we could look at every bid that we've done and compare it to engineers' estimates with the range of bids that came in. We could get that next week.
And I hope you're not, I hope you're not hearing that we want high engineer estimates so that we beat them with the bids. I'm sure you're not hearing that, but
No, I understand that it's the messaging. We're trying to educate the public on.
Well, it's also learning on our part. I mean,
Yeah.
the minute you make an estimate, you're wrong. One of my favorite quotes, because it's just totally true.
Yeah.
Okay, but are we more often wrong low or more often wrong high? Should we look at our CIP plan and say, we're typically on average 5% low. So
Mhm.
probably the CIP needs to jump 5%.
Yeah.
Or something like that. What are the lessons learned that we can apply moving forward to, improve this process as we move along?
Yeah.
But it's just good data for us to look at.
And we do track that. And, ideally, we'd like to come to the end of the project and we are just under our guess at the CIP. But when we create that CIP estimate, we are trying to guess at the low bid 2, 3, 4, 5 years in advance on something that hasn't even been designed. Right? So, when we create the CIP, we're guessing, but we're making pretty good guesses. And I think the data will show that.
Okay.
Last question on this one for me, do we have any other projects on Meadowbrook Way in that area that we could piggyback onto this and maybe save some money?
We're doing paving but it's not
We
really,
don't have anything on Middlebrook Way, so
we're doing an overlay,
we're doing overlays on Park Street, which is far from that.
which we're going to talk about here in a little bit.
Yeah, but no other project. So even the type of contractor who do this kind of work is usually bridge contractor who do structures, and we don't have any other bridge or structure project. We
Right,
do have paving projects, but that's different type of contractors.
right. I assume this is going to have some effect on the pavement. Yeah.
Pavement,
Around the
We will do the pavement around the approaches. Yeah.
All right, anything else? Thank you so much. Looks like we're moving on
Don't go too
to, oh shucks. What am I looking at here?
Amendment 2 to the construction services agreement for OTAC, the design of Kimball Creek Bridge Restoration Project.
There we go, 066.
okay.
Are you on?
Am I, no, I didn't get my computer, Jimmy fixed it, but I didn't get my computer on. That's all right.
So this agenda bill to amend the design contract with OTAC, basically to add the construction management services to the contract. So if we are to go with 24069 for the construction, we will not need more services for construction management.
Oh, thanks.
So little bit about this. So we're gonna add additional construction services to the existing contract. The existing contract has services during construction. We're gonna add to that. We're gonna add specialized inspection and general inspection for OTAC to come check on the quality of the bridge. We've tried on this one to reduce the construction management cost by having inspector like from OTAC for a specialized inspection or general inspection, all 16 hours per week, and then use city employees for the rest of the week for construction management and inspection.
And what was the other project that we had OTAC on? Which one was that one?
Last week was Middlebrook Bridge.
Meadowbrook Bridge. Okay, all right.
So OTAC is the designer for Kimball
Right.
Bridges.
Okay.
So we're just expanding the scope for the design contract to add construction management activities.
Just keeps blowing up.
Well, again, this is that biennial. The 294
Right.
is the biennial budget. The project budget, $77,000
Right.
over a budget of 151, not bad.
It's a little more palatable percentage.
So the number that's 294 is for both the construction and the construction management.
Right.
So this number is having the total.
Any questions on this one? No?
What's the difference between? Oh, good, I'll ask outside.
You're good? Okay. Thank you. Okay, so on the last one and on this one, are we gonna want to put these forward? These seem like, these are big adjustments in the budget, so they seem like non-consent items to me. What are you guys thinking?
Yep.
Okay, so let's send those forward non-consent. Because the rest of the council loves having a Parks and Public Works meeting on council meeting nights. All right, okay, next on our list then is, we're on 066 and now we're on 070. Is that the next one?
Mhm.
Awarding a public works contract to Puget Paving and Construction for the road maintenance and repair project. You on that one too?
Yeah.
Man, do they ever let you, do you ever get to take a break, have a coffee? No, nothing? No, okay.
Been saving up.
Okay, so this agenda bill seek approval to award Schedule A, B, and C of public work contract to Puget Paving Construction for the road maintenance and repair project. So this project, the scope of this project is it have part of street resurfacing program and then part of parking lot resurfacing program. As part of this project scope, we're gonna do crack sealing in parking lots for parks. And then for the street resurfacing part, we're doing crack sealing in city roads. We're doing slurry seal on First Street. We're doing full depth repair on Northern Street, and then grind and overlay on Park Street in front of the elementary school. So on this map, the blue lines are for crack sealing around the city. So most of the crack sealing in the downtown area, we basically crack sealing all the roads we paved on 2021, just to make sure that we save our investment there on those roads. And then we're crack sealing up in the ridge and Fairway. And the orange one, the orange line, it's First Street. We're doing slurry seals there. This is part of the pavement management plan, and we're following. So we usually have preventive maintenance, and then we have overlay. So the crack sealing, slurry seal is part of the preventive maintenance. The red one here is the overlay. So grind and overlay in Park Street from Centennial Field up to Mountain Ave.
Where's Mountain Ave? Which one's Mountain Ave?
Down the red
River-
line.
Goes down towards the river, and then it's got all the streets off of it that have,
Meadowbrook area.
yeah,
It's in the Meadowbrook area.
the historic Meadowbrook area. But it's got all the street names that are trees.
It's so
Before you get to
Right.
Meadowbrook though. Oh, okay,
By
all right, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Snoqualmie Elementary School.
Uh-huh,
Right here.
Enough park.
got it. I can see it now. No, I could see it up there. I just couldn't read anything, so. Okay, I have a quick question about this. I remember a few years ago, there was a sealing project that was done on the Parkway. And then it seemed like a few weeks later, all those seals got washed out in a rain. Am I remembering that right? It seemed like that. Do you remember what I'm talking about? And then I think you determined that we needed a different compound or.
So really what that was a product being used outside its envelope of use. What they did prior to my arrival was to go glue the parkway back together with crack seal. And when you're dealing with cracks that are beyond a certain width wide, it doesn't matter how good the material's applied, it's not going to stay in there. And when we had that really cold snap and the snow, the plows were bringing some of that up. So it wasn't
Rain. It
it wasn't the fact that it was crack seal, it was the fact it was crack seal being used outside it's useful.
I
envelope.
can give you a little bit more information on that. So that was back when Steve Clark was here. And his thinking was that because we're going to repave that parkway, we got to protect the subgrade ahead of time because there's so many cracks that moisture is going to get down and destroy the subgrade. Now, I remember having conversations with him about, I don't know that, crack sealing is going to do us much good. I didn't think it was a good use of money at the time. But then again, I kind of had to agree, we don't know when we're going to get the money to do the full paving. So it can't, it'll probably help a little bit, knowing that some of those cracks are just too big to put crack seal on, so some of those cracks did wash out. And Mike's right, the snow plowing, it kind of rips up, if they leave too much of that on on a big seam, it's going to tear out. It's just.
And what are we using on the crack ceilings that are indicated on this project?
we're using WashDOT standards for this one. So there is a list of 4 products that's approved by WashDOT. So this is what we specified on our contract. And when the time come for the contractor to start construction, they will submit their material and we verify that it meets or it's registered on WashDOT list.
And these are snow plow repellent? Okay, all right.
And then for the other thing on those cracks, those roads, most of them, so other than Fairway, all the other roads were paved on 2021. So we don't have lots of cracks there, but we want to protect them from growing. We have some cracks there. We're gonna close those cracks to protect them from growing. And it's not as big as the cracks you're gonna see in the park, you saw in the parkway.
Okay. Thank you.
So for this, I'll go back. The red was overlay on Park Street from Centennial to Mountain Ave. Green next to it is, this is a separate schedule, Schedule D of the bid. And this is just the overlay on the intersection of Park Street and Meadowbrook Way. So we bid, we structured our bid in 4 different schedules. And for now, we're awarding everything except that intersection. And the plan for it is we're gonna start construction and see how the construction go. And if we're going per schedule, per plan, we don't have any change, then we can come back again and award that intersection. But we just wanna have that buffer there because after we start construction, we don't know what can happen on there. There is a map after this one for the parking lots that's getting crack sealing. So for the parking lots, the condition of the parking lots is a little worse than our roads. So we had a priority list. I think Dylan also can talk to that.
Essentially, a prioritization, if you think about the way we bought a unit amount, so to speak, we said, we think we're going to use this much material. We don't know the exact amount of material that's going to get laid down for the cracks because it's difficult to measure. The parks are pretty variable and some things like that. So what we did is we selected the parks at priority that would benefit us the most for a crack sealing specific effort. And we work backwards. So Centennial, after its more recent renovations, would benefit substantially from this crack sealing. So we kind of worked that way and went backwards. The kind of key here, way of thinking of it, is that if we thought that there was going to be a lot of crack sealing needed, we prioritize that towards the end. So River, sorry, I don't know the exact name of this parking lot, but it's the parking lot that's parallel to 202, just north of Railroad Avenue.
It's,
Kind of looks like an alleyway.
are you talking about Railroad Place?
Yeah, Railroad Place.
Railroad
Parking
Place,
lot.
yeah, that's right.
So that's number 8. That's the lowest
Okay.
ranked of these. But essentially what we did is we looked at a priority, work backwards. And then we will follow up this
Carmichael.
effort with restriping because these,
Which one?
Carmichael.
Number 8? Well,
Well,
it's not number 8
we
on
all
the
refer
map.
to it either by color or by structure. The official name is whatever the street is in front of it. There's Green Park, there's Red Park, there's
Right, but
Railroad
that's,
Park,
but number,
that's not the real
number
name.
8 up here is not Carmichael Park. That's just off Railroad.
It's Railroad Place.
I'm just saying, yes, you're right. I'm not saying you're misreading. I'm just saying that on that map right there, number 8 is
Are you
not
reading the
Carmichael
list?
Park.
I'm reading the list.
It have a priority next to it. So it's like part 1 to 3.
Yeah.
and priority number.
Is the, is there a
Table.
time frame? For the, are all 8 gonna be done in a certain time frame
Yes.
or staggered?
same contractor. It's the same contractor.
Okay,
So they will have both project sets to kind of work through. They're going to give us.
Yeah, after award, they can send us their schedule, but we have the whole contract for 25 days, but usually they finish all the work on less than that. So within 25 days from the day we give them notice to proceed, they should, 25 working days, they should finish all the work.
So you're looking at having, especially I'm thinking of the railroad place for Snoqualmie Days in August. So this would be done before all the visitors come for,
Usually, so if it's the last priority, they will have to start on priority number 1
Right.
and then move forward. So if they
Right, right.
finished everything and they still have material left to do that, it will be the last one to be done. But we usually coordinate with events as well. So they won't close the park when there is events.
right? Because July and August, I mean, we have Thomas, we have Snoqualmie Days in August, but that parking lot is in sad shape, like all the curbs and everything. And it's the one most visible to the public for us, for historic downtown. Can we move it up the priority list?
But we're not fixing curbs.
The
This
other
is strictly
thing with-
pavement.
We've been like pushed them back into place and kind of,
Yeah, I know.
like. hope
We
the
want to do a
bark holds them
project
to-
there. Yeah.
So that-
Construction would be much more expensive.
Right.
So redoing the curbs and wheel stops and new asphalt. and then
Fencing.
maybe certain areas needed, yeah, the fencing, the way the park lines with the railroad. Not a lot we want to look at. Definitely see the scope of just the
It just, and it even needs from when they did the Northern Street repaving, they took out all the stop signs in front, or the stop lines at the stop signs in front of the school down there are not in place. And the stop sign is gone now, so I don't know where that is, but coming on to Northern from that parking lot, there's the Montessori school right there, Big Star School.
We have to follow up with you on that because I wasn't aware of that. So we'll want to get that fixed if it needs.
We don't want to give people too many driving options.
Yeah,
I think the other thing with putting railroad, Dylan can talk to that also. If we put, so the condition of it is not the perfect condition for crack sealing. That's why it will not fix the whole issue there.
right.
We're
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
crack seal the small.
It's old, it's,
Yeah.
So in your prioritization, you're prioritizing where it's going to be the most useful as well.
thinking that we might not even get to eat.
Right.
How bad,
But since the product isn't the ideal solution for 8,
I don't know.
got it.
But if they, when we get there, we can give it priority. Eight of these spots, these will be the best use of this area.
It's helpful. All right. Thank you.
We're gonna really need to look at what to make them, that space, how to make it different. There's some easements and some other conflicts, road condition issues, railroad conflicts.
Yeah, it's got all the old sidewalks with the pebbles in it and
Mhm.
that have been ground down a number of times and.
Anything else on this one?
Just in part, it'd be good upfront knowing the criteria you used for prioritization. I'm more comfortable arguing with you on the criteria than I'm arguing with you on individual items within there. Because I shouldn't be, come do my driveway, please. No, I shouldn't do that. Okay,
So that's only for the park. For the roads, we already have the pavement management plan there. And we
Right.
follow that.
I'm just looking for the same kind of framework in on
Yeah.
parking lots of why this order.
Yeah, well, there's two parts. One, we wanted to take advantage of a project that was going on, so we could, street research thing gives us a lot more tonnage. Pricing, and so we're hoping that we'll compare that slurry so effort up. Pick parks that hit that mark. But we also have an inventory, condition assessment that we did for all of our parks. And we're selecting this part is with some small edits to new equipment that went in nearby, and we're trying to route the park. It's something no striping. Or it has the hint of striping. And so we're just
Essence
gonna
of striping.
Go after that, research it now, and then follow the striping right after. And we're gonna do that in-house. With the remainder of the budget.
So crack sealing everything and then after we crack seal.
And Jeannie Hansen's number 2?
Yeah, for slurry seal. You can definitely come up with parks that need resurfacing.
I don't know, it's just Jeannie Hansen's relatively new.
Yeah, and generally speaking, a lot of our ridge parks are built within a 10-year period. To some extent, and some of them, we have a lot of parks that don't even actually. They're really more of a road moment. And so, yeah, I picked parking lots that it made sense to go after as a parking lot. Slurry seal just this shoulder. Rid of with those weird options.
And usually you get the best of the crack sealing when you don't have lots of cracks, so you're just keeping the cracks. Like what we're doing with the roads. The roads we're crack sealing are roads that we did on 2021. So we're saving our investment there instead of having a small hairline crack that grows to bigger and then it's a bigger issue to fix. So even if Gene Hansen is, if it have cracks there, it's better.
Oh, understood. It's pay me now or pay me later. If you pay me later, you're gonna pay me more. Which is how number 8 got to the condition it's in, because we were always, well, let's do over here, and never got back to number 8. And so there's a balance. I'm just curious to how you pick that balance of maintaining new and restoring old, because restoring old, you let it go too long, it's gonna cost more. Crack seal may not do that parking lot a lot of good as number 8. I think that's the conclusion you drew. Okay.
All right, thank you. And we're on 060 now. Demolition and removal of residents. Is that the one we're on? Number 5?
Correct.
AB 24-060, demolition and removal of residents at 7702 Railroad Avenue Southeast.
Chair,
Boy, that
Chair.
one just-
Yeah.
the last AB, are you moving that forward to council?
Yeah, that one feels like a consent one to me.
Yeah, it's
Right.
under budget, yeah.
Thank you.
In the house that just keeps coming back.
Can you hear me stop sharing?
So wait, we're looking at number 5, right?
Yes.
Okay.
No, I don't.
You do or don't? Okay.
You want a screen share?
No. No, I'll leave
Hearing
it
that he
down.
wants to screen share.
You're get me in trouble here. Good evening, Public Works Committee. I'm here to bring back the demolition of the White House at 7702. So, as you hinted, you've heard this project before. It had some delays, especially in terms of getting this contract to you. But this is said contract. It is complicated by lead that is in all the paint on the structure, which you can see in the quote. It's tossed in there. Nice. It's a very thorough document if that's your reading pleasures. But the short of the contract in general is this is full demo of the building and man-made structure surrounding it. So the small doghouse, things like that. There's also a lot of creosote posts that are in the ground right next to it that you wouldn't know unless you wouldn't walk through. And then there's just kind of some debris everywhere as well. So all of those man-made items will be pulled out from that lot insofar as we are able to and not cause damage to something, right? But there's also going to be some removal of anything that gets lead contaminated that right next to it. We do have a lot of, if you were to look through the quote, you'll see that there's a lot of covering. That's to protect the ground from getting more lead tossed into it. As we demo the building, there's going to be a lot of abatement control measures to mitigate that. And that is what leads me to the last part, which is the cost of the project, which is $132,202.50. This is not a standalone project in the CIP. It's part of a program for acquiring properties and then demolishing them. So this is part of that larger programmatic effort. I would say that this project definitely saw cost escalation really from that lead abatement and really about how you get rid of it. So we have to transport all the way to Yakima. That's really where you'll see a lot of the costs rise. in the contract. That plus the control efforts. that go into it.
The people in Yakima know this is coming.
They'll find out.
We're not sneaking it
so
in. Right?
Part of that's part of the contractor's means and methods to figure out how to deliver it to Yakima. I'm not going to look into that, but yeah, there's not a lot of facilities that can handle lead, this much lead paint in products, and so that's really why it's going to Yakima and not to Cedar Grove, which is another facility we could, if we had less lead paint, then it would have been significantly cheaper because that driving distance, hauling that much material, that's really what escalated is. I could pause.
I was noticing in the estimate, there's not, they're not gonna be shutting down or diverting traffic.
Right.
So are they kind of like going in from the sides then or going down to one lane
Yeah,
on
so
202?
this is a big one for me as I was scoping it. What I was concerned about is if we were to close 202, like, we were going to see even further cost increases. We're going to have several flaggers out. We're going to have to get permitting through WashDOT, some other
WashDOT,
things
yeah.
like that. So within the confines of working with the contractor, they said that they can stage all the equipment needed on the property. So they believe that they can fit all the equipment that they need to, around the building, surrounding the building as we go. And so that's the quote they gave us.
But it'd be a perfect detour right through Railroad Place Park there. parking
Right.
lot, And
Really emphasize the
put
need
a
for
little more,
rebuild.
yeah, put a little more use on it there. So.
See those cracked first, yeah.
The last bit on this is that this is not a standard bid. So we did not go out to bid on this. This is a job chosen, selected project. And what that allows us to do is kind of combine a bit of that, kind of puts us in like that design build kind of territory where we're working with a company that's going to help us scope the project a bit with the background that they have a catalog and thorough suppliers and other contractors that they will sub out these specialty jobs for. In this case, we had.
The part you missed was the catalog's already pre-bid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it has been bid in the past.
Yeah.
And it's updated every year. We don't need to bid to pull out of the catalog.
That part of the process is automated, basically. Okay, great. Okay. That was my question. I was gonna ask for a refresher on how that jock process works. Okay. Anything else on this one that you wanted to share with us?
This is kind of a long sought after project, but I just wanted to note that once this is removed, the next step for this property is to be included in the river trail concept. So once this is gone, that'll kind of make room and actually gives us quite a better runway to connect towards town. So this is just a highlight of the value of this property acquisition and demo. I can get into the CIP and the budget. It is a bit different than other CIPs in that the way we reimburse ourselves with grants and stuff like that is a little bit different, and that makes the budget a touch more complicated. Needless to say, there is sufficient funding by a good margin to achieve this and any of the projects we have for the rest of this year.
That's great. That's refreshing. Is this the only one you're working on? Miss Ahmed did like 17 projects. Are you just doing this one? Is she doing all the work?
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
Gotta represent myself here.
Okay, so I would say consent on number 5 as well. Sounds like they've got this figured out. Okay, you gonna move right into number 6?
I am.
AB 24-072 resolution adopting 6-year transportation improvement program for the period 2025 through 2030.
Mike, this one I'd like to jump on the screen share.
Screen share?
Yes.
I'm out.
We're out. Okay. For those council members who are new to the committee or to council or to tracking it, this is the 6-year tip that the city is by law required to update yearly. And this is essentially a reflection of our comprehensive plan at first, and then our CIP as well. It's looking out in it is a 6-year tip, but we include projects for the next 30 years, oftentimes. Big projects, some that are, inter agencies that we coordinate with, if we're gonna work with North Bend, for example, or WashDOT, or, we have a lot of different details that are in here.
So updated yearly
Yearly.
goes 30 years and it's called the 6-year.
It's just like our 6-year CIP. We will include projects in there that aren't funded. So what we're trying to do is, this is, in a lot of ways, this is going to be a document that helps us with grant funding. So if we were to go try to get grant funding for a project not on our 6-year tip, they will ask us why this isn't in your long-range planning efforts for transportation projects. That's your tip, right? And we would say, well, shucks, or we'll do it real fast or something, right? But essentially what we're trying to do on staff side is make sure that this document, which I'll go over to it and get out of the agenda, Bill.
Does having a longer scope allow you to sometimes pull things from the 7, 8-year, 9-year range down into projects that are going on that match well with it and that sort of thing?
Yes, as we march forward in time, we'll get closer that way. But this list can be reprioritized as council sees fit.
Dagnabbit, I was going to ask for hard copies of this one.
Do you want me to zoom in and scroll through the whole thing?
No, it's going to be pointless. I'm just going to trust you.
Well, I can say that there's not a lot of changes from last year. So the approved one last year, the things that you will notice that are different are projects that we completed. So the Parkway repaving effort, that was a high priority on the previous one, but that project has now since been done. And so that's the kind of things I didn't add things to this list. We haven't adopted new comprehensive plans or new strategic documents. And so what's reflected here is tracking that, as well as tracking the priority that the Public Works Committee gave to this document before. All I did was knock the ones out and make the series make sense.
Seems like we spent a lot of time on prioritizing these last year. Am I remembering that right? That was this list, right? Where we were ordering them and.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the last thing is how we go about approving this document. And that is that we have to have a public hearing to formally adopt this. I'm sorry, I should step back. We have to have it adopted, and I have to submit a document to our state legislature I'm sorry, not legislature, the State Department of Transportation by July 1st, which means that we have to have it adopted by, in this case, the last council meeting in June, which means we still have 2 council meetings to review this. Or you could put another way, a council meeting, a committee meeting, which is where we're at today, another committee meeting, the connected and associated council meeting, and then the last one where we would need it adopted by the council meeting on the 24th, I believe.
24th, yeah.
That public hearing is currently scheduled for the 2nd of the 2 council meetings that I kind of planned for, and I have already sent out the noticing because we have to do noticing ahead of time, as also part of this process. So right now, that is kind of the schedule that I kind of loaded us up for. I understand that only gives us 2 committee meetings or 2 council meetings to kind of review, but it's difficult sometimes to schedule those public hearings out without kind of being reflective of the project we're working on. So that's generally the schedule and intent. And then this is still reflective of the newer version of it that we did, where I color coded everything by projects that have funding, projects that will need funding, and projects that are with other agencies that we don't have anything planned for yet. And then there's an associated map that goes with it.
What is there what new projects have moved into the 6-year window that weren't in it last year?
No new ones. However, new-ish to the tip are 2 railroad crossings.
Yeah.
And that is another consideration. We could consider adding another railroad crossing location at 3 additional crossings. So right now we have 2. One at the Parkway, one at King Street, and then we could consider adding 3 new ones. I can go about that as a railroad crossing safety improvement and add it. And the reason we would do that is the state won't give us funding for a railroad crossing grant.
It's not
Unless it's
on
here.
it. Right.
The upside and the ease of maybe adding a project like that to this tip is that this funding source is more or less 1-to-1 matched, and the state's paying for it. This isn't an us project. We are a pass through for the Northwest Railroad Museum to upgrade their safety infrastructure. So we more or less partner with Northwest Railroad Museum, and this funding is kind of a pass through us. So we wouldn't incur costs except for some stop time. but it would be required if we were to go after that grant. So we'd either have to do it last minute or next year or postpone everything. There's a lot of ways to go about that. But yes, sorry, to get to the other projects that were added more recently. Complete Streets is on here. That is a program that's also part of the draft CIP. The 2 railroad crossings were not on here at the last tip update last year, as well as I think there was maybe a renaming and some edits to the descriptions, but I didn't redo that this time. This is the same as it was before. No, I'm sorry. One last thing. Some start dates are different. This is the 2025 tip. So the projects that are reflective of that, obviously I changed 2024 to 2025 for the programs and things we have ongoing.
So just 2 cosmetic issues.
Okay.
One, you've got projects priority 18, 19, and 20 being funded and executed prior to all those other things in blue. The optics of that's a little weird. You might consider reprioritization number, so somebody doesn't ask you stupid questions like I just did of why. So you may reconsider the priority order there to make sure that it's still within the green code appropriately. The other one, again, for optics, the Highway 18 interchange, it'd be nice to have a note in there that we did contribute some $1 million for that, for the ramp to that project. I don't remember exactly. how
remember it
much.
either.
Yeah, but it'd be nice to have that in there in the note so that if, as other people look at this, they'll know this is a project it's more than we're interested. We actually contributed in to that project and as a signal to the state that this is one we're really, it's got to come through.
Do you think, though, that with regard to the prioritization and the order of the projects, sometimes it's not going to go in that order, right? If something that they're doing at number 8 dovetails perfectly with something that's at 17, then we would want to take advantage of
Oh,
a
no,
saving opportunity.
in my head, the execution order and priority order are 2 separate things. Okay.
Explain
but,
that to me.
Same issue you may have, like railroad crossings may not come high on my list as prioritization, but the fact that the state is willing to fund it, I'm willing to move it up in the list and execute it. If it were city funding, it would probably be lower down the list and a lower. So I view prioritization as a different number than execution order, depending on external funding, other things that may occur. Okay. That distinction may not be held in all the audience that you may take this to. So they're going to ask you a question of why is priority 20 being funded before 6 through whatever. Just save yourself some time is all I'm suggesting.
I think I can add some clarity too to how we got here. First one, priority is not a requirement by law as a direction sorry, not me, you all have chosen to add to the document to help the public or however you want to, weigh that need or value into this document. Not a requirement. So it doesn't technically have to match up if we don't want it to, but that is to say, I'm happy to include it, but I have kept my fingers out of the priority.
But it has served the purpose of communication from council to staff of we'd like you to work them in this order. But if a grant comes available for a lower priority, don't let that hold you back. But we would like attention in this order. If other things drive a different order of execution, fine. But at least attention in this order.
The last one, then I'm glad you caught this. Complete Streets, it's number 17. It didn't have funding last year. It still doesn't have funding right now, but we do have a draft CIP that will, in theory, add funding if it is adopted as it's written, which a lot of ifs written in there, but that might reflect some of the why it's out of whack if we want those things to be more or less I can change it. If you have a recommendation for me real quick where to toss it in, I'm happy to make that work. It's currently number 17. And we're funding a lot of our other programs as 1, 2, 3. I'm happy to toss it in as number 4 and then bump everything down.
Yeah, put 4, 5, and 6 and up everything else down so that you've got it in order.
Councilmember Cotton?
When you folks were setting priorities, where did, besides funding, where did like safety issues fit into the?
Bottom of the list, last thing that we,
Like you were saying, the railroad crossings wouldn't be as a priority to you if it didn't have the funding. However, it's a huge safety issue.
Well, I'm not arguing it's not, well, we may have discussions of huge. But there is a safety element there, agree. Okay. I'm unaware that we've ever had a train car incident.
We have.
Oh, we have.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
It may be ignorance on my part, it happens. So that was just for example. I mean, I wasn't, if it came across as I was picking on train crosses, I was.
Oh, no,
And
I was just
the-
using that as an example too, so that's the safety factor.
We, at one time in history, we actually did a weighted criteria and gave it, points for different criteria and then weighted the criterias and came up with points, but that's kind of a long drawn out exercise. Quite often, this is more council just going, I like a park and ride better than I like something else. So it was more judgmental than scientific. Be good when we're, like I said, weighted criteria. I'm a big fan, but we don't often attempt to do that.
generally, my impression of the council has been that that safety is priority 1 with all sorts of things, whether you're talking about adding a sidewalk or, cleaning the water, funding police and fire. Those are high priorities for,
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. can't keep people safe, then why are you even here?
Right.
So, yeah. Anything else on this?
Just that the council meetings, the last one being the persnickety one in terms of timing. That's my only
Yeah, so-
reminder.
So let's get this on, then moving forward. What do we need to do on this one? This is you're gonna present this.
I can't, yes, I can give anything you'd like in terms of presentation.
We need a public,
The second meeting will be the public
the
hearing.
second will be the public hearing.
So next council meeting can be, it doesn't have to be anything.
It could be consent on the next one, and then,
I wouldn't put it on consent because it's not going to be formally adopted, but as a
right,
discussion
okay.
or presentation from Public Works Committee, I think is
Yeah.
generally how we.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, you available? Okay, all right, good. All right, what do we got left? Anything else?
Yeah, one more.
Number 7, deliberation and review of the mayor's proposed 2025 to 2030 CIP non-utilities.
I'll jump right in. So where we stand right now is that the last, my mind's swirling here with memory, but between the F&A meetings and the Public Works Committee and the following council meetings, what we saw is several presentations looking at the CIP, why certain items are in the CIP, kind of how the community center interacts with the CIP, both in terms of bonds. We also heard from our financial advisor on the consequences and timing of said bonds that are associated and connected to the community center and the CIP at large. And in this moment, I don't have any further presentations to give, but in more leaving space for that deliberation effort or any questions that we can address. We have also sent out to council a response to CIP questions from, I think only Councilmember Johnson has sent them to us so far.
He has some good questions, though.
Okay, and
Yeah.
that response
Yeah.
is there, and we, all the staff members that are participating in the CIP are here to answer questions or go through any detail. Unless I missed some aspect there, but that's. my
No,
understanding.
I guess we're still taking questions too. So as you review the particulars of the CIP document, please, send us your questions or
Oh, you want me to tell the meetings? Oh, sorry, one last one, and that's to kind of sketch the rest of your week, if you will. We have a CIP open house, which we held in this room this Thursday at 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock. And then there's.
Was it 5 to 7? 5 starts at 5?
5 o'clock.
Why am- Oh, okay, I was remembering 6. Okay, my mistake.
You got here at 6? Just yeah, and that is a potential quorum, so I believe all councilors are freely able to attend. And then follow that up this Saturday from 9 to noon is going to be the CIP tour. The same, not the same, but the new version.
This
the tour
Saturday?
This Saturday. And that would be meeting starting at here at 9. And we have a bus to take council members on a tour of our CIP projects that do include utility projects. Even though what we're discussing primarily as of late has been just the non-utility side. But while we're on a tour of all fun projects that we've achieved and accomplished and ones we're looking forward to, we thought to both.
Do we get to wear our hiking boots so we can go out to hike the trails out to the?
to the springs.
Yeah. to the
No,
springs?
we weren't going to do that this time. We'll set up a separate trip for that.
Okay.
It's not really-
It takes a while. Yeah.
All right. Anything to add?
Yeah.
You're good? Good?
Nope.
Mike?
I
All
did
right.
try to print your tip for you, but the printer's not working, so
No, that's okay. That's
I'll
okay.
put it in your boxes.
Thank you. Well, all right. Well, then that's everything. Then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
All right.